Here's a fellow just voted. The Senator Chris Coons from the beautiful state of Delaware, Democrat, just voted no on Ms. DeVos, I should say. Why no, Senator?
Well, Neil, I listened to the confirmation hearing of Betsy DeVos, and in my view, she just didn't have the experience, the background, the insight. She's not in the mainstream of American education policy, and she frankly flunked the test of being able to identify core issues in federal education policy. For example, she had no idea what the IDEA was, which is the federal statute that protects children with disabilities and makes sure that they get access to a high-quality education. She couldn't identify the difference between growth and proficiency, which are core ideas in how we measure progress in education. And the agenda that she pursued in Michigan, providing taxpayers access to taxpayer funding through vouchers to derail funding from the traditional public schools and send it to private or parochial schools without accountability, struck me as the sort of stand that I'm surprised Republicans would ever support, and that virtually every Democrat has opposed.
But that doesn't mean that, Ms. DeVos notwithstanding, that you are not open to those in school districts where they don't think their kids are getting an adequate education, that they can find alternatives to that.
Neil, as I said on the floor earlier today in a speech, I spent more than a decade working with the I Have a Dream Foundation, an organization that provides educational scholarships and opportunity to kids in the toughest schools in the country. I've been to some of the most violent, most difficult, most failing schools in America, and I understand and empathize with the yearning of parents and students to have alternatives. But to have alternatives without accountability, I think, is a disastrous path. In my home state, we have charter schools. We have school choice. And in some cases, it's worked out well. But our governor had the courage and the foresight to shut down failing charter schools. That is something that Betsy DeVos fought against. And I don't think Republicans have ever stood for taxpayer dollars being spent without appropriate accountability. And that was a key area of concern for me.
All right. She will likely get into that opposition, notwithstanding the vice president, the role of tiebreaker here, Senator. But I am curious as to whether the well has been poisoned for these remaining picks. We're told that in rapid-fire fashion, you're going to have Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, Steve Mnuchin for Treasury, Tom Price for Health and Human Services. But there is a logjam here about cabinet appointees who've been approved, the smallest bunch yet for an incoming president we've ever seen. Does that trouble you on any level?
Well, it troubles me that we've had, in the 6 years that I've been a senator, obstruction and inability for us to work together. Republicans obstructed vigorously President Obama's attempts at confirmation for Supreme Court justice, district court judges, and for senior positions in his administration.
They did nothing of the sort for his cabinet pick. So I guess the other developments, which you accurately allude to, is this really tit for tat then?
Well, I haven't taken that same approach. I have voted or will vote for General Mattis, for Secretary of Defense, for Linda McMahon, for Small Business Administrator. I've met with both of them. I found them to be qualified. I reviewed their record of service, and I was encouraged by what they, I think, will be able to do for our country. And on the issue of the Supreme Court, I am not going to do to Circuit Judge Neil Gorsuch what the Republicans did to Merrick Garland and refused to even give him a hearing, an unprecedented and extreme step. I think he should get a hearing, and the American people should hear his views and his record, and then we should see where we go from there.
What you've heard of Judge Gorsuch, Senator, where would you lean at this point?
I'm concerned about his position on access to justice and plaintiffs. I'm concerned about how he sees the balance of power between our branches, and I'm concerned about some of his opinions and writings. I have heard from a number of friends who practiced with him very positive things about him as an individual, but I have not yet met with him, and I'm really in the beginning stages of reading into his record, his decisions, his opinions, and the work that he did both as an attorney and now as a circuit court judge. So I am working to keep an open mind and to provide him the fair hearing that Merrick Garland never received.
Senator, a pleasure taking the time. I do mean that on a day where you didn't have much of that. We appreciate it. Senator Coons of the beautiful state of Delaware.